Hey guys, we made it back. Figure out which way the best way to turn this is. I think I want to go that direction. Good evening, Warren. What's going on down where you're at today? Just moving stuff here out of my way. I'll be needing some of it for a little bit. I tried to reply and it wouldn't let me reply to that. The last video I just uploaded about the HG 454 for Virginia Man. All you got to do is look at the beginning of it. You don't even have to start it. But how can you contact me? You can call or text that number, depending on time frames. Texting usually works the best, and then I'll get back with you whenever I'm awake. That should get you. Hello, Bruce. You should have got your stuff by now. By the way, Merry Christmas. You've probably seen what I put in the box for you, or noticed that you wound up with an extra. Or wait a minute. No, you didn't. I thought I had thrown you an extra jumper in there. I did not. It's still hanging over there. Well, I am. I don't know about the Squirrel Chronicles, but I'm alive. You don't see a complete monitor over here on the side. I can see the comments both ways. That way I know which 4 holes to go back with whenever I get it all, start bolting it all together. Let's turn the heat down just a little bit. It's been pretty doggone cold. I've actually had to run it a lot harder today than what I usually do out here. Yeah, I hear you on the 3. Yeah, I can't stay out here but just maybe an hour or so. trying to get this turned where I can tighten up that little clamp while it's still in play. Yeah, it's already taken care of. All right. Well, hello, Three Maid. Hello, Tracy again. Yeah, buckle down, Three. Yeah, I hear you. All right, Bruce. Thank you for popping in. Hopefully, those jumpers that we made up for you take care of your other things that you were doing. All right, so let's get some holes knocked in this thing. Got a new drill bit set for Christmas here a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you what, these are some bad mamma jammas. So far, everything I've drilled with them, these things have just been incredibly sharp. I don't think I've ever had drill bits that have cut quite the way these do. Sometimes I'm almost afraid because they cut just about too fast. Well, Three, how's things going over in your neck of the woods? Hopefully things are going good on your end. Haven't got a chance to talk to you much here last few days anyways. But I know you've been busy, I've been busy, and I've really been busy. I got 2 of the 3 packages that are going out on Monday. They're ready to go. The other one, I got to put a plug on other amplifier and then box it. There we go. So once I get that done, I'll have 3 going out. I took a kind of a quick order since I was in build mode earlier, and did that little 454 box. I've got some others that I've got coming on. All little things going on. Got 1 amp repair that I'll be doing here in about 2 weeks for a boy. I got the transistors on order, so we'll see how that all rolls. And he's somehow or another loaded up again. loaded up a couple different times. Once because trying to run a 5 pill on too small a power supply, and blew up the power supply and the amplifier. We fixed it that time. This time he told me he loaned it out to somebody, and unless they're buying it, don't loan your amplifiers out. You never get them back in the same shape that they leave in. Alrighty. Should have worn my 3-made shirt today. I don't have any of those made up yet, but I am still trying to get some labels made. Talked to one of the guys around here that does that, and they've got a pretty good sized shop. So I could go ahead and get some more labels made. There's actually going to be a couple little changes and some other stuff that I want to add to that. So, trying to get all the stuff together. It's been pretty doggone hard, to say the least. Like I said, just a lot going on. Get some connectors. I like that, Warren. You good socialist. One thing's for sure and two's for certain, guys. It's getting ready to get interesting real quick, real fast. I know that's one of those things that you rarely want to mix in with it, but I know that there's definitely a lot going on. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I'll be glad when everything's all said and done. 3, you haven't cut yourself with the knife I gave you for Christmas, did you? Yeah, sometimes it's hard to egg him on. It really is. .403. Let's see. Some of those, get a couple of these. Okay. And actually, before I do that, one of the things I want to get done, it's a whole lot easier to do it before you start putting all the pieces and parts in. This right here. Okay. Well, he could be both, Warren. You never know. I've actually got some cases that I sent off today, and they are over at the powder coat guy, and we're going to see what kind of prices he can do for us. I'm hoping he can get me in there in the price range I want. I really would like to start powder coating these cabinets. Took about a half a dozen of them over there, so that way you can kind of see what we're looking at. Everything. Part of the problem is I'm right here with the switches. This is pretty daggone good stuff that I've been buying, but man. Things we do. Where these cutouts are for those switches, that's what's kind of giving me my fits. It's easier when it's going across something that's nice and smooth that doesn't have all these big gaping holes in it. Yeah, use vinyl, they said. It's fun, they said. Of course, the people that said that wasn't the ones that were actually doing it. All right. like vinyl for a lot of things, but there's times it will try your patience all the way around. I usually try to heat it up too, and that helps shrink it, but it also allows you to stretch it just a little bit. Make those real nice, clean edges. I'm trying to get the crazy thing in here. There we go. Didn't even realize that. It's trimmed. Wow, it's getting warm in here. If it wants to be a booger one way, you go the other direction, and then come back. Yeah, the corners are always the worst on this stuff. But here in a minute, like I said, once I get it trimmed in, I'll show you what I really like about this vinyl. Besides the fact that this stuff is like incredibly durable. Wake up over there, 3. I know he'll come back saying, I'm awake. Maybe. If you guys ever decide you want to do a vinyl wrap yourself, practice on something. Or buy enough that you know you can redo whatever you're wanting to put vinyl on at least 3 or 4 times. I am no expert when it comes to vinyl, by no means. Okay. I really like it whenever I can get that stuff to lay down good on the corners. Once you put the lid on it, it looks beautiful. All right. That's the worst of it. Well, like I said, 3 here in a second, you'll see what I'm referring to. Do you have anybody that you have that makes your vinyl regular? I had a guy, and I sent him a couple of things here a while back, and that was 6 months ago, and I have never heard back from him. So I don't know if he's out of business, just not taking any orders anymore. I mean, I usually buy a couple $100 at a time, so I figure that should be enough on vinyl. On holes like this, there actually is 2 ways to do this. One of which is the way I'm doing, where you just do a physical cutout. If it wasn't for the type of switches that go in this, typically what you would do is make an X and fold it in on itself. But the switches I've got, where they've got an overhang or a lip on the outside of them, usually you don't have too many problems once you put them in there. You don't have to be exact, but make sure you trim off enough it doesn't get hung up. Well, good evening, Charles. I see you decided to greet us with your presence. I'm beginning to wonder about you. All right. Some feet on there real quick. That'll make it a little easier. Let's see, 1, 2, 4. This is another thing too. I don't know if you put feet on a lot of your stuff. I know you do bases and stuff, but that is the one thing that just absolutely blows my mind is how many feet. Part of it too is the fact that we go through, essentially 4 for every amplifier. And you buy a couple of 100 feet and you think, man, this is going to last me forever. And you turn around and it's like, geez, I got to order more feet. Okay. Now comes the fun part. This is why I said I really like it, because as you work it, whether you're using fingers, whether you're using a sponge, a piece of wood, unless you get really, really, really rough with it, this vinyl here has actually got a protective coating. I'm used to using some of that old stuff that, they don't put a protective coating on there during the time you get it. So, it kind of makes it difficult. to be brutally honest with you. And let's see here, where is, there they are. I wasn't sure how that one was going to turn out. I got some of these that was printed on, it's called translucent backing. It's not going to look right on these. Okay. So we have the other style label. Don't have any super big ones left. It's okay, I got one the right size. That's all that matters today. And that's how you skin a potato. Now the other two, I'm actually waiting on those. Sadly, I've actually got several of those on order. I've got some for repair work as well as to finish this out. So it'll be unfortunately next week before I get those switches in. But nevertheless, it's not a real big deal at the moment. I can still put a small little jumper in there for the power and get it all tuned out, ready to rock and roll. It's just crazy how many steps it takes to get from point A to point B. That's probably one thing that never ceases to amaze me on something like this. I got all this small stuff here out of the way. The other two repairs, and I'll actually be able to get into the big stuff then. Well, good evening, Josh. I see you decided to come back from the land of the dead, or the living, or the living dead. Uh-huh. I know several of you have gotten messages from, or you've already done it. But I know several people over everything that's went on and has been going on actually have deleted the Facebook accounts, which I'm kind of sad. You know, definitely understand why. I'm still kind of sad because there's still people that won't leave those pages, and there's really there's several other sites that are similar, but it's going to take a lot of getting used to. I know I've been kind of halfway looking into some of the different formats that's out there. Yeah. Just get this crazy thing to start. Most of the time I'll use a regular circuit breaker in the front for, I have to do that the other way. But yeah, most of the time I'll use a, like I said, regular circuit breaker in the front for the main power and all that stuff. But I had quite a few people that seemed to like that 2x4 that are the 2-pill I did here a couple of months ago in the in a little bit smaller case, but requires a transformer. So I went ahead and bought a couple more. That way we can just try them out and see what everybody thinks. Okay. Got my bag of goodies. I bought some screws that are supposed to be, here they are, right size to hold them transformers in. Well, thankfully you didn't delete YouTube 3Made. As far as Parler, I mean, I've got on it a couple of times, but it is, I don't know. I don't care for the layout or, even how you're supposed to contact people, to be, quite honest with you. I'm just not a big fan of that. Granted, there again, all the different media sites, as they, whichever one that everybody decides to settle on, once it starts getting somewhat popular, there'll be more and more things done. Go ahead. Get rid of that heat sink, or the heat sink vinyl out of the holes. If you get a real nice sharp real nice sharp deburring tool, you can actually go back and just hit those edges as far as where the holes are, and you don't have to sit and do like I've done in the past, little pocket knife or razor blade, try to cut around there. Why do that when you can just use a quick tool, hit it a couple times, let it run around there. It'll just cut it right off. Makes such a nice, neat, clean incision. And let's see here. Need a couple of those. Extra. All right. Yeah. I'll find one of those. I'll find that whenever it comes back around, I guess. Yeah, I hear you, 3. I definitely understand. Which it is, sort of. Okay. One more thing I need to get mounted in there too, real quick. I have got like a plethora of these guys. Eventually, I am going to order some of the other ones. They've got some really nice heavy-duty ones that I have used before. On a two-pill, I don't really think it's all that critical. If we were building anything larger, I definitely would want to go with the other ones. I mean, I've seen two-pills run on just one of those little 50-amp jobs, but usually I'll put 2 where this one should draw a little bit more current. I want to go ahead and try to make sure that I've got something that's going to be substantial. And 4 drawers in, we find the right one. Telegram? I haven't heard of that one yet. Oh. So Warren, what pray tell are you in the market for, roughly speaking? I know you tried to ask me as far as how to contact me, so we got the info there to you. Come on. I've got like 20 crazy markers around here somewhere, and you never can find the exact one you want at that time. So they've already taken Parlor down. That's definitely interesting. All smells will move. Move that where we want it. Right, wrong, or indifferent. Oh, radio? Oh, okay. Yeah, just let me know. I am slowly taking stuff. My big thing is I've got a lot of big projects coming up that I'm trying to make sure that I stay free for. Some of which, like I said, I've got a lot of time that I'm going to be putting into a couple of these amps. That are coming up. I'm waiting right now on a quote, so that's actually the main holdup that I've got going on there, is just waiting on a quote. I've got about a half a dozen cases, like I said, that I've already sent off to the powder coat guy. And then with the other stuff that we've got going on, like I said, I think you guys are going to really like what I've got coming up. Like I said, it's going to take probably at least another month before they're available. Where'd my little board go before I drill through the table? I don't know, I got the plastic there, but still don't want to drill through the plastic even though it's all tore up and nasty. There we go. By the way, Charles, thank you for the Christmas. Believe me, these will be well used. Those will definitely be well used, at least by the end of the year. But I am definitely impressed with them. Thankfully, I know where you got them. I don't know if they sell individuals or not. on the drill bits so that if I break one or anything like that. But like I said, I'm very, very impressed with them. Okay. Um, cap that off and then I'll tie it back just in case for some strange reason we would ever want to use it. We don't take away any options later down the road. Okay. You know, when I was a smoker, I had like 50 lighters everywhere. Now I can't hardly find one. Of course, my daughter, she still smokes. So I think that's where all my lighters from the shop, I think that's where they've all went. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm impressed with them. I mean, I've used them on a few different things, and I have seen such a huge difference. Even, and a lot of times, I mean, I've bought some pretty good. You know, usually it's what they call jobber's length. You know, I've bought what is it, Deming. These are actually made by Hoyt. You know, they're U.S. made, but you know, I've had this little drill index. I mean, granted, I've replaced probably 8 or 10 bits in it. But I bought this back in 1994, I think, or 95. And I still have most of the drill bits that are in there. They're still in there from that far back. So 15 million connectors, and I can't find a simple little. There we go. Okay. Some of this is just easier to do while it's still out. This being one of them. Yeah, I actually found yours, Charles, as far as your little Christmas present that I bought you. Granted, obviously I didn't get it to you by Christmas, but that's because it actually wound up getting, I guess, shoved underneath the bed some way, somehow. And I just really didn't know what happened to it. But I actually found it the other day because I had to get underneath there to get one of my shoes because I kicked it hard enough that it went underneath there, and you know the rest. So it is what it is. But eventually I will get that out to you probably on your next order, whenever that might be. Next week. Yeah, I've been looking into a couple of different things. Like I said, I've got. Speaking of which, the conversation that you and I had, I believe it was yesterday, Charles. Did you find out anything yet, or is that going to be one of those that you're going to take it slow and easy? Hopefully you find out and you get some good info, and maybe I can get in on that. It's one of those we just have to kind of wait and see how things go. Sounds like you losing your mind. Yeah, I've had that a few times. I gotta be losing my mind because I'm still out here working on this stuff. I've been up since 9 o'clock this morning. I woke up to go use the bathroom, and you know how your brain sometimes just automatically goes into overdrive and you ain't getting back to sleep no matter how bad you want to. So I can guarantee I will sleep good tonight because I can't go to bed early. Otherwise I'll have one heck of a rough day tomorrow. Whatever you do, 3, don't try this yourself. That way you don't wind up cutting yourself. I don't know if they make a specialized stripper for this kind of wire or not. You know, when you got the 3 conductor, it's kind of hard to judge as far as what you need to do with it, as far as which way to strip it. You got heavy, you got light, depending on where it's at on the cable. So you got to play with it back and forth. So you can get it broke loose. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I can remember back in the day, if you had a Texas Star 500, you were a big dog. You know, now people use those for drivers, and it's like, oh, that's a cute little amp. It's like, what? At least around here, if you had one of those, man, you were king of the hill. And we had one guy that showed up one day, you know, this was back in the late 80s, going into the early 90s, you know, first one I'd ever seen. And it's like, holy crap. And then he told me how many watts it did and da 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 da. And it's like, wow, you know, which was the Texas Star Sweet 16. Everybody wanted one, but nobody could hardly afford it. Come on, baby. Like I said, 3, if you know an easier way, please let me know. I hate whittling on this stuff a little at a time. Now, you do realize that if Slim gets on here, which he used to be from Jersey, now he actually doesn't live too incredibly far away. I'm actually surprised he hasn't popped in there for a quick visit. He's the guy that brags about being in a 4-cylinder mobile. It was just kind of funny because I had a chuckle because one of our mutual friends, we were talking the other day, and you know, he had just said something, and it was like deja vu because it's like, yep, I know who said that to you, and you know, we both just kind of chuckled. Jeez, Pete. I think I'm gonna go back to my blue cords. They're a whole lot easier to strip. A whole lot easier. Do. Okay. And I need to drill one more little hole. That's for our bonded ground. And believe it or not, I'm not pushing all that hard on these, Charles. Like I said, these things are about like you take a super sharp pocket knife and be whittling on it. That's what it does to this aluminum. I know you've got that on your purchase list, but like I said, they're badass frigates. The best part about it is a whole lot easier to do burr stuff with those. Burr cuts are sharp. But what in the devil are you going to do, Charles, with a pink 29? You know what kind of hell I can give you over that? Well, Gary, like I said, it takes time, buddy. You know, especially if you've been out of it. There has been so many advancements. You know, of course, back when we were, spring chickens. Haha. Yeah. Back at that point in time, you traded for different things, not knowing 20 years down the road that it's like, hey, you know what? I'd like to, get back into that, or man, I had one of these, or I had one of those, and boy, I wish. Yeah, well, and here we are. Figure out how the heck they've got this twisted. There we go. Get that crazy thing down here where I want it. Sometimes this is the hard part too. Some of these ferrites, like these here that I'm using, they've got kind of a small hole. It's just big enough to do what I'm doing. They're great for fans. I bought everything that a company had here. February, March of last year. Of course, they've went out of business since then. But it was one of those where I really wanted to try to get as much stuff at, good price, just like anybody else can. And fortunately, they have went out of business after 40 years. They just got tired and said they wasn't going to do it no more. So it kind of made me sad. Should give me enough to go there. Doesn't give me enough to go to the switch, but that's okay because we're going up here. Now, I hadn't seen those yet, Gary, as far as the Yeah, the 2-meter amps. I have been way too busy taking care of all this other stuff that's been in here. Okay. There's that. Let's wind this cord up, keep it out of the way. Come here, zip tie. Decide if that thing's gonna start or not. I like to leave those connectors loose until I get everything as far as the boards all settled down and set where I want them. Just in case I gotta manipulate one. Okay, there's that. Since we're not exactly going to be able to see this real good, we're going to make sure we mark the corners. That way we know which ones are positives and negatives and all that good stuff. AC I'm not too awful concerned with, but we are as far as on the DC side. Sure, we give ourselves ample ways to realize what's what. If I start doing too many more of these bases like this, I'm gonna start investing. It's just they're about $25, versus what, $6.50, $7 for 3 of these. So I mean, this is way more economical. Like I said, just for a 2-pill. Like I said, if we were building anything other than a 2-pill, I really would consider buying those. There we go. That actually inked up a lot faster than I expected. Good evening, Doug. Would you have a bow with 4 driving 8? It depends on what the 4 are. That can be done, but when you start doing that, you're looking at doing something which would be more in the lines of what they call a competition box or a comp box. It's going to be good for about a 10-second key. It is not meant to hold together for sustained periods of time if you do something like that. It's just like we've got guys out here that are running, 2 pills directly into a 2 pill. But it is for competition. So can it be done? Yes. Is a recommendation? No. Yeah, you actually would be better off with a 16, to be brutally honest with you. It's just like I've got another one I'm going to actually make up here later this year, and it's more for fun than anything, but I think you guys are going to get some amusement out of it. Like I said, it's going to take a little bit. I got to get this other couple of amplifiers off my desk, but I've got one that's coming up that is going to be very intriguing, I think. I just got to go upstairs and into the storage room and pull another board and heat sink down, and yeah, make a new one. So, like I said, it will be very, very interesting when it's all said and done. So, I'm really and truly curious about this one particular one that is going to be coming up. I've had people ask me for very absurd builds, and this kind of falls in that range of absurdity. Yeah, I better go with the next size up. Yeah, I don't want to give it away just yet, but it is going to be something I'm going to try to get onto and get into the build with. Like I said, I think you guys are going to find it quite interesting. Making sure those are going to be long enough. Yeah, well, the 16 is basically, that's not what they call a bastard build. Um, some of the bastard builds, as they are called, the reason why is because of the format in which they have to be built in. Um, but you've got your 6 pill. That's one of them. The next one is a 12, or actually, the next one would be a 10 pill. And from what I have gathered, I don't think that there is any builder, unlike with the Toshibas, um, nobody really likes to build a 10 pill anymore. And a lot of it has to do with the way the 10 pill works. The next one is 12, and then from there you go up to the 24. And a lot of it has to do with the sequence of events that occur within each amplifier. After you go to the 24, the next one is the 48. Or do I know about the 48? The LD Moss. The LD Moss is definitely a force to be reckoned with. They are very durable. However, they do have their faults as well. If you like just using a normal radio, or if you have them set up for a specific, for a specific radio, let's say your radio does 45 watts peak and 15 RMS, and you tell the builder that, the builder builds it based on what you just told him. You take it home and all looks well, and it's doing the wattage you're supposed to, and then next thing you know, your buddy talks you into going ahead and hooking up that Striker 955 that's going to do 90 watts and about 30 RMS out the back end. You hook it up, you see 300 extra watts that's coming out of your amplifier, and then the next time you key it down, you just seen a $500 repair bill come out. So it's one of those that they're nearly indestructible, but at the same time, their weak point is they take very, very, very little input compared to what a lot of us are using. And that's what you get into. Otherwise, the LD Moss does have a lot of good merit to it, especially if you've got that antenna. We'll use that for a perfect example. The LD Moss is very hardy when it comes to the backside and SWRs. Its weak point, however, is its input drive. It takes very, very little, which is not a big deal, but there's a lot of people who get way too power hungry, and if they see an extra 200 or 300 watts coming out of it, they want to continue with that. And at that point, if you buy the one transistor, which is going to do you roughly around 1,500, if you want any more than that, you need to go ahead and do a 2-transistor version. And I think it's Prime. I think Prime is the only one I've seen that has a 4-pill version or 4-transistor version of the LD Moss. I have reluctantly stayed out of doing the LD Moss technology. I've discussed it with a couple different builders, and the pros and cons, with what I've seen, and like I said, it's impressive. It really is. And in a lot of different respects, especially if you're looking in returns to a base unit. Granted, there are people that are building those now into mobile versions, which to me there's too much that can go wrong in the mobile, because you got to go from DC back to AC. I think this is how it's got to go. You got to go from DC to AC and then AC back down to DC in order to create the voltages that you need. So it's more parts to go wrong in a mobile, but as far as a base application, it's pretty good stuff. When you really get down to it. Just like anything else, it's all got pros and cons. I don't want to forget the extra zip tie. How many builders anyways do we have that's actually consistently, and I use the term loosely, but consistently building the LD MOS? I know RF Man has been making the RF decks for them. I've seen 2 other builders. I'm just trying to remember how many builders there actually is that's really pushing the LD MOS technology. Like I said, there's a few of them that they're doing that continuously with the LD MOS. Get a ring terminal for that, guys. Go. It's tight. Now don't worry about the ground. And take care of this too. It doesn't matter how many times you go over it and you think you've got everything as far as all the prep work done to the case, you always find one more thing. And that's another one of those things too. I've seen, you know, I usually go ahead and tap them because it's one less type of screw that you gotta use. I've seen people use what they classify as sheet metal screws. Man, I've seen just about every form of screw there is, I think, that's ever been created to actually hold down the circuit boards. It's actually almost unbelievable. Really is whenever you stop and start looking at some of that, because it's like, really? Wow. But you know, the 2-pill, it's got plenty of heat sink on it. I'll definitely give it that. All right. So it's going to sit in there this way. So let's find out what we need for wiring. Let's see. Wires. Yeah, I got some miscellaneous that's left. I'm trying to use up some of it for little stuff like this. It's too much to throw away, and not enough to really wire certain things either. So. It's not like we need tons of wire either. These are just small hanks of wire that's been laying around. I need to get used up. Yeah, well, I talked to Luke too, and that's the whole thing. Like I said, you know, when you talk to enough of them, and they, you know, there again, they tell you about the pros and the cons. You know, that's, you know, technically it's one of those that if it goes down, it can be a more economical repair in many respects, but also at the same token, you know, if you're constantly blowing it up, how much money is it costing everybody? You know, at the end of the day, because you've got to run them based on what you have it built for. That's the biggest gist of everything that I come up with whenever I talk to different people about it. Otherwise, they're, you know, like I said, they're pretty stable. They seem to do really good. Prime, like I said, he's one of them that does do the big LDMOS. He does the 4 transistor version, which, I've seen enough. I've seen enough headache just out of a single that tells me I really wouldn't even want to start building the 4 pill version. Not that it can't be done. It's already been proven it can. But yeah, so that's a lot. That's a lot to take on. Take this out too. A little trash that I keep on the workbench, aka the old dash tray. It is full. Seems like it keeps snagging just one thread. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. There are very few people that, again, that's definitely a very specialized amplifier, and I know depending on who built the amplifier in that particular case, um, it's just like we used to have a gentleman around here that we called Saul. Um, you know, well, actually, that was his name was Saul. Um, he went by Modulator on the radio. Elderly man, 20-year veteran in the Navy, and he specialized in communications back in the 70s. And, he could pull out the old slide rule. That's part of where I've learned some of my more archaic methods. Um, but, he'd pull out the slide rule. He would, figure up on, based on the voltage that is needed for the tube. He could tell you how many columns of water pressure that each tube required based off of the airflow, so that he could go ahead and calculate, the CFM on the fans. But he did it by water column pressure, which was based off of the original specifications for the tubes. So, there was none of this, guessing, okay, well, is it adequate cooling or not? Does it require the water, the water jets or whatever the case may be? He did this all with good old-fashioned scratch paper, a pencil, and a slide rule. It's just like your high voltage. I still call it a Z choke, which is your high voltage choke. That essentially everything runs through after after the rectification, and where it ties in to the what is that, the cathode of the tube. Like I said, just an amazing guy. I would have loved, had he not got sick and passed away, I would have loved to have learned all I could have learned off of him. Unfortunately, I was too young at the time to be able to spend a lot of time. Of course, I had my family going on back when I was in my early 20s. So, I really just didn't get a chance to spend with him the time that I really would love to. But just an incredible man to have met. What little time I got to spend with him, I learned an incredible amount. Unfortunately, where I used to take notes when I would go over and visit him, I had moved out to Oregon for about a year, and this was back right around 07, 08, and most of you remember how a lot of us lost our jobs and everything else, and I was no exception to that rule. Well, unfortunately, because of that, I moved everything. I was out there, and then I moved everything back to Indiana, which is where I'm still at yet to this day. I've moved out of state twice. The last time, to take care of family, I was only planning on being out in Arizona for about a year. Oregon was looking like a potential move for permanency. Love the area a lot, but then the economy went to crap. I moved back here because it was more economical. Of course, I still had a house payment at that time, so it was obviously more economical for me to live where I had a house payment than versus making a house payment and paying rent. So I came back out here, moved back home. I've been here ever since. But like I said, the trip to Arizona, that was wonderful. I enjoyed being out there. Kind of actually thought long and hard before I came back here. The only problem is unless you have an established business, trying to do startup or anything like that, it is not the friendliest state, unless you have an incredibly high education, for doctor, lawyer, bachelor's, and whatever the case may be. And even at that, I'd seen, nurses and stuff that, spent all that time going to school, got their RNs and what have you. And even they had problems unless they wanted to move up to someplace like, I'm trying to think where the Big Rig Radio is. Phoenix. Yeah, Phoenix. The smaller areas that I personally would like to live in, which I live just outside of Tombstone, and enjoyed it down there. If I was retired, it would be ideal, but fortunately, if you have to make a living and you're trying to pay for children and stuff like that, unless you are able to get in on a military contract, it is incredible, or you've got an established business that everybody uses, it's incredibly hard to make a go at it. So that was another decision, after I got through doing the family thing out there. That's part of the reason why I moved back here in Indiana. What are these units? What are you referring to? The amplifier that I'm working on, this is a 2-pill HG with 454, or excuse me, 2879 C series transistors. That's too far north. Well, Charles, you know. Just think it would have been a whole lot, that would have been a heck of a ride for you, though, if I'd have stayed out west in Arizona or all the way up there in the northwest corner there in Oregon. Yeah, you'd have cussed me up one side and down the other to drive all the way out there to visit with me. I think it's what? Is it a 9 or is it a 12-hour drive from where you're at to me? $12. Yeah, I couldn't remember. Yeah, so you are the same distance. At that point, you are the same distance from me that I am from the High Plains Drifter out there in Nebraska, which I went out and hung out and visit with him. Was in the wedding party, which I haven't talked to him much here lately. Of course, like everything else, we all work a lot. I actually talk to you just about more than I do anybody else, but part of that has to do with the fact that you are essentially on the same shift that I work. So that makes a huge difference too. Of course, my second shift lasts about 3 hours longer than yours. Which didn't. Yep, definite night owls. Of course, there's times I know you and I have had conversations, and it's 6:30 in the morning, and we're both saying, well, we need to get off here. It's just before I get to call it quits tonight. I've still got to print off. I'm going to print off 3 labels, finish packing 1 amp. Geez, I'm just trying to think. Yeah, I like the fun in the sun too, but I'm not ready for that kind of humidity. You guys can keep all that. Plugged in. As soon as I get this wired up, we'll actually be ready to start putting all the goodies in the box. Or I think this is a little bit bigger than 10 gauge. I'm almost half afraid to try it. Should be fine. Turn that back just a hair anyways. Yeah, I've got some of that 3-in-1 heat shrink for these projects here like this. This is all that stuff is awesome. Because it basically doesn't matter what size, as long as the heat shrink goes over top of it, it pretty much doesn't matter from size to size. That a 1/4 inch, which is actually a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch, which is great for that. I think it shrinks all the way down to like 1/8 of an inch. Yeah, I know it looks kind of silly doing this, but the particular solder that I'm actually wrapping around this, what it is this is actually a silver bearing solder that I'm using. So once it heats and it cools, it takes actually a lot more temperature to actually reheat it in order to get it back to a liquid state. So although it's kind of a small amount, it's nice because even if I mix it with the other, it allows for a harder joint. It's still somewhat permeable and flexible, but it also can handle a little more amperage because of it. Not that we're actually going to exceed, probably 30 amps at the most, but just an extra precaution. Let's see if Bertha's ready. Yeah, it should be. Just let it wick right on in. Definitely a whole lot harder to cut too. Well, thank you, Gary. Hopefully you have a good night, buddy, and we'll catch you on that rebound here one of these days. Be about 2 more weeks whenever I have enough free time where I can hop in here and do another video. Meanwhile, I'll be working on some other projects throughout this week. So I need to actually be able to try and fit in, and that's another thing too, that I'm gonna have to put all this stuff on hold here throughout the next couple of weeks until my next weekend off, where I can be in the shop, because I want to try to get some new labels and stuff printed up and made. And I just literally have not had the time to get with people, and I'm still trying to figure out some of these new some of these new programs that I've got. I know what I'm after and I know what I want. I just got to be able to figure out how to make it happen. Come on, baby. Ah. Just needs to hold for a second. There we go. I'll grab one more thing. Well, it's gonna make me do it the hard way. There we go. Ding, ding. We're just going to use that for a binder, basically. And we're going to go back and reheat and solder that. It's just a real fine copper wire. It's a solid copper, but this way we know we can get the binding we're looking for. It doesn't have to be super heavy duty or anything like that. It's just basically that way it'll hold itself together while we go ahead and put the solder to it and make sure that it's adequate. So since this one gave me the fits to start with, Okay. I'm gonna let that one cool just a little bit more. Last thing I want is that heat shrink to start shrinking on that too fast. All right. Not sure it wasn't my daughter or anything else that might have been important. All right. Come on. All righty. So Charles, are you going to try to talk me out of this one right out of the gate? I know you're going to wait and see what it does on power. Come on, baby. Kind of like if you're working on a car, it's almost mandatory if you cuss it. Come on. Fingers too fat. hold it with pliers. And there's not enough room to put a socket or a wrench in there. Of course, the other side of that too is it would have helped if I'd have drilled those holes just one size bigger. There's like no extra room for error. I wish these feet were like a 1/4 inch or even 1/8 of an inch further away from the transformer. Man, it'd make life so much easier. Give me a wrong nut in the package or what? These do not want to go together. Yeah, like I said, I've got some other stuff. Like I said, I'm wanting to really try. With some of the different transistors that have been out. I've placed an order, I think it was what, yesterday? Yesterday? Let's see, no, yesterday was Saturday. Yeah, I guess it was Saturday. So I should see it probably about Wednesday of next week. And geez, oh Pete, man, I must be crazy because I ordered another $600 worth of metal clad micas. You know, but as hard as what they've been here the last few months to get hold of, you know, a guy gave me a pretty reasonable price on them. They're 1%ers. But like I said, it's just the availability of them. I went ahead and took advantage of the situation where they were available and snagged them. So it's going to give me, wow, somewhere in the realm of about 300, I think. So, I mean, I ain't gonna run out for a while. So I need to quit my job and start going back to building amps all day. Of course, as slow as what I am, she's starving to death. At least by the second week. Most of the time, if it's what I call common, which this is semi-common, generally I try to put at least 2, if not 3 of the same thing, or close to the same thing, together. And I do that for time's sake. Believe it or not, it actually takes less time to build 3 than it does to sit down and build 1. And I know that sounds odd, but whenever you break down the actual time frame that you've got and divide it by the amount that you build, you wind up seeing that you've got anywhere from an hour to I've seen as much as an hour and a half difference if it's a decent sized build. About the only amps that you're going to really see that are going to be essentially identical from amp to amp that I will build is going into this Evolution series. I've got a certain criteria that I want to keep as a standardized with this. So in order to do that, I've got to go that extra step and write down what we did, how we did it. About the only thing that will change possibly from time to time is wire color, because that's with the Teflon. It's dependent on what I've got on hand or in stock at the time. Granted, there's going to be a lot of green and a lot of black, both used in most of the amps that I'm building, just because of the fact that I've got like 3,000 or 4,000 feet of black and 2,000 feet of green. I think 1,000 feet of white. So yeah, I'm not going to run out anytime soon. Like I said, I know for a 2-pill this is way overkill. But that's part of what this amplifier series is all about. size. It's just like in a lot of my radios and amps. You will see actually a lot of red zip ties. I come across a deal here a few years ago. I ordered like 6,000 of them because I got 6,000 of them for the price of 1,000 because I bought a closeout. Well, they were the perfect size for what I was looking for at the time, so I've been working on the same lot for the last 3 years. It's the reason why you see so many red zip ties in most of the stuff that I build. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just I'm still working on the same thing. Of course, I bought one of those humongous reels here about 15 years ago of this one particular diode that I use a lot on radios, more specifically as far as one of the kits that I build, as far as to pump up the modulation and get the power out of it, what have you. There's a couple different pieces that I've got that I use. Well, because of that, it's one of those where, once I found what I wanted to have some on hand, and the price was just such an incredible difference. Buying an entire reel, which was like, I think it was a reel of 5,000, and I've been using on that same reel for, I know, going on nearly 15 years. So I think I've got a third of it left, maybe a quarter. Of course, now where I've used that one diode, and I can't even find the replacement for it anymore. So whenever I run out of those, I really don't know at this point. I'm not sure where I'm going to go at as far as trying to find a replacement, because I cannot find a replacement for that specific number. I can find stuff that's equivalent as far as what they say, but just like anything else, I always get rid of all the good stuff. It's the reason why we don't have Toshiba anymore. Let's see if I've got another connector. Okay. I think those are out in the garage, since my daughter took a bunch out there. So we'll set off to the side and wait on that. Dismounted. I need another nut and bolt. Trump red, huh? Well, you can do that. Speaking of red, like I said, that's what I've been using, a lot of red zip ties. If you want to associate it with Trump, that's okay. At least you're not associating it with other parties. Okay. The other two, I'm going to leave those loose until I actually get the cap exactly the way I want it, because I'm not sure which way I'm going to do that just yet as far as the orientation of that. But what I can do, get that. There we go. All into place. How many crazy screws? Okay. That one's going to be a booger. Well, early those that sits down just far enough. Thankfully, I know I've got some like I sent you last year. I don't know if you went through them. That was like 250 of them, or was it 500? All I remember is it was a bunch of them I sent you. As far as those grounding tabs, as expensive as what them little grounding tabs have went up to, man. I can remember when you could buy them just for a couple of bucks for like a bag of 100. Now, man, they're outrageous. A little grounding tab like that, they have just went out of sight. Okay. Bear with me here. I'm trying to find the other versions I've got. Yeah, we'll use these. They should be long enough. And they are. And you think whenever you're building a base, it's like, hey, I've got all kinds of room to work with. Not true. Just not in this situation. course, I thought I had given myself plenty of room whenever I set that relay. Otherwise, I'd move that relay forward just probably another quarter of an inch at least. Tap down just a little more. There we go. Since I know that I had to bend that one down a little bit, I'm going to straighten this one a little. And sorry if I'm in the way. All right. See if we can fish old girl out. Keep forgetting I can pull that up where you guys can get an overhead view. Yeah, I'm still not used to having this camera stand like I've got. I've got a little more freedom with it than what I had with the way I had everything before. I sent my buddy 3. I sent him a camera, and I sent him whatever that is. I sent him a camera, and I sent him a stand. So hopefully maybe he'll get out here from time to time and start doing some live YouTube videos or something. I know he does a lot of them and then puts them together and all that good stuff. I'd like to see him get in here and start doing some live feeds. That way I can go in there and bug him. All righty. Change that wire out. Okay. we go. I think that's the way I want to put that in there. Alrighty, guys. We're about here just a few more minutes before we call it good, but I still got to get on the computer yet. Like I said, pay for some labels and get a couple of boxes ready for tomorrow. So I can stop and get that on my way through, back on my way to work. So we're just going to stay in here just for a couple more minutes, and then we're going to switch over and get the other stuff out. John, if you're in there, Mr. B, I have not got your radio out. It should go out tomorrow. I was trying to find what I did with your address. I know you emailed me here a while back, but I did not get a response to you. So I had to go back and start digging so I could see if I could find an address. But I will try to go ahead and get you your tracking information tomorrow before I leave for work. If I don't, I'll leave it here on my desk, and I'll do it the following day as far as to get you that. But the radio will go out on Monday, provided nothing insane happens. So, alrighty, guys. Well, that's where we're going to stop at for tonight and kind of go from there. CR 476. Yeah, I can't remember. Oh, hi, Charles. Your phone went dead. Yeah. Like I said, can't remember, and then you forgot your last initial, which is S, CRS. I know I suffer from that from time to time. But all right, guys. Yeah, like I said, we're gonna call it quitting time on this. Like I said, that way I can go ahead and get the other orders out, get them taken care of. I'll get a few more things buttoned up. For example, our grounding, we got to get that taken care of as far as put up here on the cap. Our power input. I'm still waiting on 2 switches. Like I said, that should be in hopefully Friday. That way, because I'll actually put a standby, and I will wire in a delay so that if somebody actually wants to use this on sideband, they can. But I always did prefer to have a physical standby, even if the power's on. And the reason why is that way you can go ahead and let the fan run and do its thing and actually physically cool everything down. So, call me strange. I know you can shut it on and off with a switch, but there are people that want to put it on standby and just let it run. And I personally think that that's a little easier on an amplifier, just because of the fact you don't have that initial oomph of 120 volts hitting your transformer, and then you're going through the rectifier circuit, and that's slamming into the cap, over and over and over. Granted, the caps are capable of handling that for like 50,000 times or 100,000, however many times it is in a life cycle. But it actually keeps stuff from wearing out faster, as much of an oddity as that sounds. But anyways, with no further ado, we're going to call it a night. Guys, you take care. God bless. We'll catch you on our next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.